So I saw this comment talking about how Spirit Tracks ruins the ending of The Wind Waker, and it really bugged me to the point I felt the need to talk about this because it's such a common sentiment, and I don't understand, but I'd like to share my views, and maybe, if you feel this way, I can change your mind. Let's talk about the ending. A lot of people I've talked to don't seem to see the full meta of the game. The Wind Waker was directed by Anuma, who has admitted that it was a bit too preachy in regards to the King of Red Lions, which is why they edited him for the Wii U remake. Why would the king be too preachy? Well, he is a father figure to Link and Zelda, and during the development of the game, Anuma was a recent father himself looking to make a game that would introduce his children to Zelda. The role of the king in the story is the role of a father doing his best for his children. In a canon sense, he is doing this because he wishes that Hyrule would continue into the future generations. But of course, Link and Tetra are far removed from being his direct son or daughter. The intent here is on transitioning into the future, like a parent to a child, which is why the premise of the game relies so heavily on past events. First, you can only see this transition happening by resurrecting the ancient land of Hyrule beneath the sea. But by the end, he recognized that this desire made him the same as Ganondorf, coveting the land for his own wants, rather than for reasons of benefiting the future, which has moved on. So, the king fully recognizes his mistake, wishing for the past to be gone and drowned with Hyrule. A lot of people don't understand why the king says, "But that land will not be Hyrule, it will be your land." And then Zelda proceeds to name her kingdom Hyrule afterwards. The truth is, Daphnes is only letting go of his ownership of the future, and like his own Hyrule, he will die beneath the sea, leaving his hope to the gods, the Triforce, Link, and Tetra. I have scattered the seeds of the future. In canon, he is designating the future land to Tetra to be the new kingdom of Hyrule, but in the meta, he is saying it's up to the next generation. I've done my best. I also feel like a lot of people don't understand why the bubbles during the ending credits contain images of peoples of the Great Sea and memories from the events of the game. But if you realize what's being shown, it becomes much more clear. The bubbles are coming from the freshly drowned ancient Hyrule, but they show people from Link's experiences on the Great Sea. Right after Daphne's just wished for a future of his kingdom, the king and old Hyrule represent the past, and the rising bubbles represent the future, and what lead there, Link, Tetra, and those who live above the mistakes of the past. In nearly every game, Link saves Hyrule, and here as he's about to it, is destroyed, and this is a good thing. Link and Tetra are holding on to what they think they need, since they are told to and are children, yet they truly need to live their own lives. This is beautiful. It is especially effective given the context in-universe, and the message also works outside of the universe, as fans refuse to move on from old Hyrule, even now. We saw it with how people reacted to Wind Waker's art style, and we see this same head turning with the Wild Era games. Meanwhile, those who started with the Wild Era love those games to death. In Phantom Hourglass, we get to see Link and Tetra searching for their new land, and already just through the introduction, we see that Tetra is stepping into her role as a leader of the people and not just her crew. The ghost ship is causing trouble, and she's going to get to the bottom of it, her and Link both. This isn't anything new. We've seen this side of her in Wind Waker, but she had to play it off before. Tetra couldn't let her crew know that she wasn't worried about the pearl, as much as what Ganondorf would do to Link's island if he got there first. Tetra didn't have to make sure her crew babysat Arrow, but she did, and they kept her safe and hidden from the enemy, even when they had no idea what happened with Tetra. This game sets up Link and Tetra as leaders, and once we reach the end, they even have another ally in Linebeck who they can trust with sacred treasures and secrets, which again, just shows how good they were as people. People chose to follow Tetra, and by proxy Link, because they believed in these two. If a problem arose, they came to fix it without question. Now we get to their land, New Hyrule, the Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks. This is the game that supposedly ruins Wind Waker. The history of Hyrule mirrors a lot of our world, continuous rises and falls of civilizations and kingdoms, birthing their own heroes and villains who shape the world around them, across eras which are entirely separate, to the point that the hero of time's heroic efforts to save Hyrule through awakening the sages and sealing Ganon only delays the inevitable destruction of Hyrule underneath an ocean. But this is the case across every single Zelda game. Do we see the great Deku Tree's wish to unite the islands into one giant landmass by planting trees, thereby raising the land that the king wished upon the Triforce to bury underneath the waves as disrespectful to the point of Wind Waker? Of course not. Different characters, even while being on the side of good, have differing agendas and philosophies of what to make of the world around them. Tetra's experiences through Wind Waker were nothing short of traumatic, and we can see hints through the game, even though she puts up a tough front, that she does know about and think about the old world that once existed. The world her mother told her of. We can see in her cabin there are pictures of the goddess statues to summon Tower of the Gods, a picture of the hero of time, her implication of knowing about the Master Sword, her expressing interest in reviving or memorializing that world in some capacity out of a sense of adventure or even sadness is completely natural and understandable. I think people get a little lost in their search for a big picture. They find a message that they think the game must entirely be about, and think that any and all characters and narratives associated with that game must abide by it, when the entire history of Hyrule through the timeline show that there is nothing but the rise and fall of kingdoms, with the only consistency being that there is a hero and princess who is there to protect the innocent. This game did its job perfectly, even down to the detail of Tetra going down in history as Tetra, not Zelda. But maybe you have a different perspective. I'm interested to read it in the comments. Or maybe you agree with me because this is how you've always felt, or I changed your mind. But either way, thank you for watching until the end.